I think circadian rhythm plays a huge part in our weight as well. Yes, but this is reality. You sit at a desk all day staring at a screen.
There's so many variables we have to look at. And even like McDonald's, however many years ago used to cook in tallow, and now we cook in seed oils. But your cells literally do everything in your body. And it's, again, when you eat food, it's an energy source. It's fuel. So when you consume something, it literally does become your cells. And
I downloaded.
I wanted that to be the first photo. Instead of like my normal face, it's like, yeah, that would be great. We'll save that one. Okay, so you what? I'm sorry.
Will Tennyson?
Should I know Will Tennyson?
He's like a YouTuber.
I do not.
Like fitness.
No, I don't know him.
Anyways, he convinced me to download this app called Macro Factor.
I use Macro Factor. Girl, okay. That's the one I told you to download, and you said I use something else.
I just downloaded it. I get 2 weeks free trial, so I'm going to use it.
Well, I'm glad that you listened to the YouTuber's advice.
Well, here's the thing. You told me to use it, but I had no concept. He showed it and was like, this is all that goes on. So.
Yeah. Okay, so when I talk to you, I should send you some YouTube videos to go along with it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. No, it is really good though. I love what I like about it, and I'm not the one who found it. My friend Katie actually found it. And she loves spreadsheets and analytics and is everything I'm not. But I do like being able to see the trends and the strategies. I feel like it does a really good job with like data.
And it will change your macros and stuff depending on you're not losing enough weight. Okay, let's switch this around or whatever. So
yeah. Wait, you're moving again, or you're moving?
No, I haven't moved yet.
You haven't moved yet. Okay, I don't think I knew that.
I'm packing, and there's boxes everywhere, and anyways,
yeah. So you have a busy week ahead of you.
Well, I'm going to Atlanta. I leave tomorrow or Monday. I'll be there till Thursday, and then I move Saturday.
That's a busy week.
Yes. So all right, let's just get into it. So, hey, Meghan, welcome back.
Hello.
We've been on the struggle bus lately, haven't we?
We're doing the things, girl. We are in action motion.
We're in it together for sure. So, well, actually, you're getting ready to do a competition, right?
I am. Bodybuilding competition for, I think, 12 weeks out at this point.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And scary. Yeah. So Megan's been amazing in keeping me accountable for all my stuff too. So the reason we're chatting today is because we want to talk a little bit about weight loss, and because that's pretty much what both of us are doing right now. Her getting ready for a competition and me just wanting to get back on track with some of the things. Most of you probably know that I was carnivore for a while, and I had lost a bunch of weight being sick and stuff. And when I started to add more food back in and not really track everything, there's a bug in here, sorry. I started to gain, we're keeping that in there.
Not for eating bugs.
Started to gain weight that I just don't want. I'm hearing myself echo now. Do you hear me echoing or no?
I don't hear you echo. Sometime we should do a podcast where we're getting ready for bed with all of our with tea. That's my vision for us.
We'll do it in our Bibles. Our Bibles and tea. But so anyways, I'm just doing it because I don't feel comfortable right now, and she's got a competition coming up. But I want to talk about why muscle and almost in a sense gaining weight before you lose weight is super important. And I want to ask you kind of your process and what you've been going through with all the show stuff. So hi Kitty. First step, get a cat.
She found me. I did not find her.
So when you decided to do a competition, what was kind of the long-term goal and plan, and how did you start?
That is a great question. It's a little bit loaded for me, but I'm going to try and keep it concise. I have wanted to do a bodybuilding competition for over a decade, but because of my previous struggle with chronic illness, I knew that my nervous system wouldn't be able to handle it. Maybe I could, but it wouldn't be healthy. And so I think approaching your aesthetic goals strategically is really important. We're obviously like really big on diagnostics, so gonna harp on that, but really knowing what is going to be best for your body depending on a lot of different lifestyle factors. So when I decided to start training for this bodybuilding competition, it had been after a decade of like giving myself a foundation of health. So that's the biggest thing that I like to tell people. Like, it's not something that I just jumped into. Now, if you don't have any previous health concerns, I don't think that you can't just jump into it, but know where you're at. Like, everybody's different. But I decided to do that last summer. I was like, I really want to do a show in spring. But long story short, like I had gone through like several stressors and like I had gone through a breakup. So when I'm sad or stressed, I tend to stop eating, not because like I'm trying to starve myself. Like I just get sad and like I just don't want to eat food. So the calories I was at in the summer were probably around, I would say 1600. Which at that point, like it just wasn't high enough to be able to drop. So basically, for anybody listening, whenever you cut weight for a show, you are gradually decreasing, getting into a calorie deficit while maintaining an activity level that's going to help you maintain muscle mass. So my calories were too low. So what that meant is that I needed to go into kind of a rebuild phase, or some people would call it maybe like a bulk or a reverse diet. A reverse diet is just literally the reverse of a deficit, is you're slowly increasing. And the biggest reason why slow and consistent is so important is your body is taking in inputs and giving you out. So if you're not getting the results that you want, it's probably because your body at some point in the communication chain is confused. So when I decided I wanted to do this show, like I said, it was around summer. I knew that I had some photo shoots that were coming up that fall, and I was going to start my reverse diet in November. That was going to give me enough time to work up and build strength while also increasing my calories so that when I started prep, I could start decreasing. Does that answer that question? Kind of?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So what Meghan and I were talking about earlier is just how important it is to, well, first address where you're at, right? If you're dealing with chronic illness and you're struggling to lose weight because of those things, then you need to address that first. And Meghan is a functional practitioner, and she can definitely help you with that. Because typically, if you're holding on to weight and you have underlying issues, if you address those underlying issues, you'll probably lose the weight. And then, as well as, let's say you're good to go, you don't have any chronic issues going on, then we can kind of, I still think it's important though to do a reverse diet, or at least see where you're at calorie wise. I see a lot of people who are overweight and we start tracking their calories and they're eating like 12,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And
I see like two things happen. I see either people eating way too little, and it's because there's a lot of different reasons, but usually people's activity level is too low, and then it's not causing you to trigger the hunger hormone, which is causing you then to like eat the calories you would need to, or improper tracking, where people are saying, "Oh, I'm not eating that much X, Y, and Z," but then they're putting 2 tablespoons of butter on their eggs and X, Y, and Z that like
there's 200 calories right there.
Yeah. Or like, oh, I just put a little maple syrup in my coffee, like even something like healthy. And I'm like, oh, buddy, like that, ooh, track that. You'll be very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like one of those two things can kind of trip people up, which is why it's kind of helpful.
Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to address, what are your thoughts on net carbs? Because I had a client and they were using net carb tracking, and I'm like, no. I'm like, we need to track all the carbs. And then once we started tracking the carbs, they started to lose more weight because they realized they were eating more because of it was counting the net carbs and not the actual carbs.
Yeah, this is like brings up a great conversation about bro science. There are a lot of people's opinions on the internet, and I would always go back to what makes sense from a body most simple perspective, and what do we have like clinical research, not even clinical research, because like there's a lot of studies that are just absolute BS, but like what would make most sense like simply to the body, I guess, is and net carbs, like why. So net carbs is what fiber they're taking into account. Fiber. Yeah. How does why that's like girl math. That's like, yeah, well, you know what, like I actually returned this on Amazon, so I got money. So I made money on Amazon. That's what you're telling me with your carbs right now.
Yeah, I think when you have fiber, apparently you don't absorb the amount of carbohydrates, but I don't think that's true. I don't believe that's accurate at all.
I would need to look at a refresher on some clinical data, but
well, it's like the complex. Obviously, like maple syrup doesn't have fiber in it, so there's not going to be any net carbs. But I mean, fiber is indigestible, so I'm guessing it's counting the total carb as fiber. Like some of it is fiber, so it takes away. It's like, oh, this has 3 grams of fiber, then it's taking away that because we don't digest fiber. So, but I don't think it's accurate.
I think,
but even tracking calories is inaccurate to 10 to 20%, even if you're like super strict.
Yeah. I think in general, it's just about like awareness. So even the AI trackers, people give like a lot of hate for those, but at least you're making conscious, intentional food choices, which I think is always going to position you in a better place. So I've seen a lot of really healthy things about preparing for a bodybuilding show. One, intentionality is huge. Like making sure you know what food you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, and stick to a routine is by far one of the healthiest things you can do. And I think a lot of people struggle with that kind of consistency because one, lack of planning and proper preparation prevents poor performance kind of deal. But is just really maybe not knowing what to prep or what their body needs. So going back to making sure you have that foundation is, well, first we need to know what you need and what is going to be best for you, and then creating that consistent plan. But usually the people I feel like I talk to that are really worried about net carbs, it's like, okay, that's a detail, but if you're nailing the big picture, we probably shouldn't like distract ourselves with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of distractions in the weight loss space because everybody wants this quick fix, and you've kind of explained it perfectly as, look, it's taken me almost a decade to get better, but even more like a couple months for me to prepare to get on stage. And a lot of people will see these bodybuilders and stuff and they think it only took them, 6 weeks to get there. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Maybe if they've been training for years and years and years and they're professional bodybuilders and they're always going in and out of cuts. But if this is like your first time trying to lose weight and you've been overweight for a while, or you've always had metabolic issues, it's not a quick fix.
Yeah. People who do 8-week transformations use PEDs. So
preach it.
You can do that if you would like to find somebody who wants to talk to you about withdrawal or Anabar.
Let's get on some gear.
I mean, that's the thing, but honestly, we need industry transparency because I had a meltdown for the first time 2 weekends ago. And I was in this really weird. So this is as a functional health practitioner, like as a woman of faith. And I've started this journey to prove that you can get into peak aesthetic performance without wrecking your hormones or your faith. I've done all of the prep work to position myself in a healthy place for that. And still, I had a meltdown 2 weekends ago because I was so mentally like, I don't feel like I'm big enough, but I feel like I have too much fat on me. Like I'm not going to be ready in time. And the problem is like a lot of the girls that I was comparing myself to online, it's not their first show, they're pro shows. And a lot of them are using PEDs. And it's nothing, if that's what you want to do with your life, like I'm not here to judge it, but I think that we really do need an industry transparency to say like, if you are using something to help your weight loss journey, like semaglutide is all the rage right now, just have industry transparency because body dysmorphia is really real. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Just own it, because it's like the people who do not want to put that into their body, again, like no saying anybody's right or wrong, like your body, your choice, whatevs. But like, that's just, I feel like it's a conversation that we should be able to have.
I think so too. Cause, even me going into the gym, I see some women and I'm like, how did you, I'm like, I don't understand. I go to Planet Fitness. There's a lot of teenagers in there, which makes me sad because I'll be in there and 2 months later I see him and I'm like, dude, that's insane. Like, you're definitely on, nobody's not going to tell. And again, if you want to use those things, whatever. But I just want to put it into realistic for people who don't want to use those things, that it's going to be a process and it's going to take time. And there's going to have to be a phase where you are feeding your body and building muscle and feeling very uncomfortable in your own skin so that you can boost your metabolism, speed up whatever insulin sensitivity by building muscle, all these things, so that then you can drop your calories to a sustainable place and lose weight and not starve yourself and wreck your metabolism.
Yeah. And then get into a worse place, because it happens to a lot of competitors. I've even had people warn me, like, make sure you reverse out of it right, or else you will wreck your metabolic system and regain a bunch of weight. And it's a really rough path for a lot of people. But one of the biggest takeaways that I would say anybody watching this, regardless of where you are on the journey, is convenience always comes with a price, whether you see that up front or whether you see that down the road. So if you want quick results, I think what is that like phrase, that it can be quick, good, or easy. But if it's quick and good, it's not going to be easy. If it's easy and good, it's not going to be quick, like, etc.
Mm.
So just know that, because even competitors who do decide to go the PED route, whether it's pressure or whether it's just something that they want to do, you see a lot of people that end up with health risks. And if you're not getting frequent labs and working with a practitioner that is going to be able to make sure that you're safe doing those things, it can really leave you in a vulnerable position. And if you, regardless, like a weight loss journey in general, I think that like sometimes we want to look a certain way, but we shouldn't be getting skinny to be healthy. You get healthy, and a natural just result of that is less body fat. And there's a lot, we could like have a whole Bible deep dive on that topic.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the reason I have put on this extra weight is because I have not been living a healthy lifestyle. I have been either under eating or getting convenience foods, or, I'm not eating cakes and cookies and things like that, but I'm definitely just like, some days I eat 500 calories, the next day I eat 3,000. And it's just like, it's chaos. And my body doesn't know what to do. So it's starting to store fat because I'm all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I transitioned to a job that I'm pretty sedentary. So there's a lot of factors in that. And then my nervous system with the chronic illness and stuff has been a huge hurdle as well. But I think I'm at a place where I can just continue to build and get where I want to be. Yeah, we've talked. I did a reverse diet, and then life got crazy, and then I had put on a bunch of weight because I did a reverse diet. And it was just like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I say that too, because if you are wanting to lose weight, definitely work with somebody like me or Meghan or somebody who has experience and knowledge of how the metabolism works. I hate all of these fads of like, you need this, or to lose weight, you got to do this. I'm like, it's simply just like, I hate to say this, but calories matter. Calories matter. The food quality also matters in a health perspective. Like if you're eating, 3,000 calories of donuts, yeah, your body composition is going to look way different than somebody eating 3,000 calories of protein. Like that's a given, but calories matter.
Yeah.
And I gained weight even on carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about energy expenditure, how you're utilizing your energy. And it took me, I rejected that science for such a long time.
Aw. Why did you reject it?
Just being in the natural health realm and hearing all of the other fads of like, you need probiotics and you need this and you need that. And it's no, you have to sit down and do the hard work and you have to track.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do. And to your point, like these fads, I feel like it's always like, this is the one thing, and it's not.
You've tried everything. And
it's not one thing. It's actually multiple variables. And unless somebody is looking at your labs and creating a plan for you, it is speculation. So if you want specific results, getting them off of speculating it's just not even smart. It's not smart. So I think that's one of the biggest things is like, hey, get to know your body. And it does, like, it takes years. Like we've been at work with our health for years and years and years. So now we know you can tell, you can identify like, hey, like I've had stress and I haven't been consistent with myself. And so I understand that this is what's going on. So for a lot of people who haven't done that work and they, again, going back to intentionality, aren't intentional and they just think the body is the enemy, your body is not your enemy. Your body is a survival machine. It has one mission. It is to keep you alive. So it really doesn't care if you don't like the way it looks. It cares that you're breathing. Now, if you want it to look and perform a certain way, one way I've heard it put is macronutrients determine how you look, micronutrients determine how you feel. So if you want your body to look a certain way, then give it the right kind of fuel that is going to make it look that way. And if you would like it to perform and feel a certain way, then nourish it that kind of way. Your body is not your enemy. More often than not, it's your mind. And that's why you have to tackle that first.
So what are some things that somebody could start doing now? Let's say they don't have enough money or whatever, they just want to start doing something now. What is the one thing that they can do to lose weight?
For 30 days, track everything you're putting in your mouth. Try it for a week. It's free. It's absolutely free. Write that ish down.
Right? Well, download an app. There's plenty of apps out there.
Sponsored by MacroFactor.
Yes.
We wish.
MacroFactor sponsor us.
Please.
There's other apps out there that you can bypass the, spending money, and you can literally track all your food. You can scan it in there. You don't have to do anything or calculate anything. It does it all for you. I mean, you can see where your baseline is, like where you're at. And then you can literally just go online and look up BMR calculator and put in your stats, and it'll pull up a number of where you're supposed to be at.
Yeah. I remember, 2008, Meghan. 2008. Yeah, 2008.
That's such a long time ago.
Such a long time ago. So I was diagnosed celiac, like before Cameron Diaz was diagnosed celiac. So nobody knew what that was, and it was like super scary. So what I did is I went to the library. Those things actually still exist. And I found a food journal, and I would write it in. I literally would write in my food. And it was really valuable data, evidence. I don't know what you want to say. It was accountability. And so I could kind of start tracking and seeing trends, and like I would track how I felt and X, Y, and Z. And I think at that time, one of the first books that I had found was by Bethany Frankel. And I forget the name of her book, unfortunately. But one thing that really stuck with me that she wrote about was treating your diet like your bank account. And so a lot of time, maybe you don't listen. I'm like, it was bad advice for me too, but like I was too young to have a bank account. So I'm like, smart.
Yeah, maybe I'll utilize it for both.
Yeah, you're like taking notes. Me too, girl. Me too. No, but oh my gosh. But one thing that like I feel like I try to relate to clients too is like an area that you're strong in. So if it's not finances, that's fine. But if you're strong spiritually, if you're strong mentally, etc., like using your strength and then creating a framework, because your diet really isn't super different. Like if you treat it like KPIs, like if you understand business, or if you're proficient in something, like you can learn how to be proficient in health. Like it is literally just a learning skill. If you do it for 5 years, you'll be a master. So like start now. But so in the book though, she talked about your diet as a bank account. And I thought that was really good to think about, okay, like what do I want to invest in? How many calories do I have in the day? And do I really want to spend them here, or do I want to spend them elsewhere? And it might be a day where you're like, I'm really going to spend my calories on ice cream. I'm going to do it. That is a good investment for me today. Or it might be a day where you're like, oh my gosh, you know what? I really need to spend my calories on bone broth and hot tea and putting my legs up a wall. And if you don't know the power of putting your legs up a wall, do it now. While you're listening to us, put your legs up the wall for 10 minutes. You got this. But yeah, so I just like relating it to something super simple, because health really shouldn't be hard. And again, if you're listening to this and you want to hear the one thing is the everyday step that you continue to learn about yourself. And it is a journey, my friend. So get walking.
Keep walking. Yeah, I was going to say something I totally forgot. So I was part of the carnivore space for a while, and I love them all to death. I think the carnivore diet's amazing, very therapeutic. I don't think it's a weight loss diet, though, because I gained weight on it. Maybe that's what my body needed at the time or whatever, but a lot of people, I hear the argument of, well, when we didn't have phones, we didn't track calories. I'm like, well, we didn't have obesity when we didn't have phones. Like, there's like, we were living a completely different life. We live in a modern world where we're sedentary and we have these convenient foods that are super high calorie. And so we need to adapt to that, unfortunately. If you want to go live off grid and work on a farm and you don't have a problem with weight, then yeah, sure, go do that. Like, and that's where I think, looking at the whole aspect of your life is important. I think circadian rhythm plays a huge part in our weight as well. We can do another whole podcast on that. But I try to argue the fact of like, yes, but this is reality. Like, you sit at a desk all day staring at a screen.
Yeah. Well, and that's where like there's so many variables we have to look at. And if you want to, it's not comparing apples to apples. So even like McDonald's, however many years ago used to cook in tallow. And now we cook in seed oils, and that your body responds to that much differently. So, man, I just wish that everybody like really loved biochemistry, because I feel like it just makes my life so much easier. But your cells literally do everything in your body. And it's, again, when you eat food, it's an energy source. It's fuel. So when you consume something, it literally does become your cells, and it sends different chemical messages throughout your body for different things, for how it is going to be used, either to repair your body, to give you energy. Again, like however your body can help you survive better, it wants to do that. So a bigger issue is like, okay, maybe we don't like that the food we have access to now, convenience food, etc., is killing us. But my question would be, why would you want to consume something that is going to give you potential health risks? And are you consuming things because of dopamine, or because you're being strategic with using that fuel for energy? And it also is both, like to your point of, yeah, you could be eating carnivore diet. It could be processed meat. It could be free range. And I know you, so I'm sure it was free range and pastured, etc. But we still have to have the conversation of macros and calories, because calories are just a measure of energy from a science lens. So if we're triggering too much hunger hormone and we're eating too many calories and we have a sedentary lifestyle, we're going to store energy. Because what happens, and I don't remember if we'd had this conversation, but I had this like huge epiphany about obesity in the body. But let me paint and I know this is like a rant, but like let me paint this picture, because I feel like it's so important. Is if you think about the body and it's a survival machine, if you take an organism and you put it at rest and there's no threat, it knows that it's getting food every day at various times. I think about my feral cat. She has adopted me because I feed her. She knows that this is a safe place where she's going to get fed. There's no threats here, right? So if you put your body in a place where it does not have to be active, by active, I mean exercise is a form of stress. And when you lift a weight, essentially what you're telling your body is you need to get stronger, because if you don't, you might die. So your body gets a muscle because you're telling it, I'm going to have to be able to lift this weight. That's what exercise does. And a whole other thing of like hormones that do a million different things, and mood, and like we can deep dive that. But if you take an organism, you keep it at rest, you give it food, your body just wants to survive. So it's going to say, wow, I'm safe. There's no threat here. I don't really have to move a ton, and I get food all the time. I'm going to store this. I am going to store this. We are going to thrive for the rest of our lives. And then like the picture I get is the really overweight kings in the old ages, right? So like eat, drink, be merry, just like have all the energy stores possible, right? So your body's like, this is great. I'm happy. But because of societal norms, our mind says, oh my gosh, like I'm happy. Like I don't really want to stress myself out. I don't really want to exercise. I don't want to do these things, but like I want to look a certain way too. And this is where we get friction. You cannot have both. So what's going to have to happen is you are going to have to tell your body by your lifestyle how you want it to look. If you want to be athletic, you have to be athletic. If you are athletic, you will look athletic. And it's not harder than that. It's really not harder. So just like go be athletic and you'll look athletic.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's mind blowing. I do have to say though, when I did Muay Thai for years, I looked kind of athletic in a sense, but I was eating garbage. I mean, I had no sense of anything. I was eating like Cheez-Its for breakfast. Like that, it was whatever. Like whatever I could get my hands on, because during that time, I also like, I was raised by an absent mother, and just whatever was there was available. And so it was like lunch meat and chips and bread. Like that's pretty much what I lived off of. And I could tell that even though my body was able to do that for 6 years, it eventually fell apart. So yes, that does work, but you also have to fuel your body correctly. And that's the most important part, is what we put in our mouth.
Yeah. Convenience always comes with a cost. And I think I would love for you to kind of deep dive a little bit of that as well too, is the emotional side of things. Because I think in the industry, one thing that we love to do is compartmentalize and separate things, but emotional, spiritual, and physical are not separate. Again, one big survival machine that works together. And if there's a history of trauma there, you're going to struggle with losing weight. One of the emotional things that your body does, again, responding to stress, responding to trauma, is to store weight. And it's a survival cue, because your body wants to have energy stores if it is in a situation it has to fight for its life. And if there's a history of trauma, what happens is you have a neurological response. You have, what is it? Why can't I think of the word? It's not a neural pathway, but essentially like you have a program that has responded to an event and has now created a mental program. I can't think of the clinical language right now.
A neural pathway in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't decide if that's the right clinical language, but like, forgive me if it's not. But essentially, like, that program that's in place now it's in place to keep you safe. So again, going back to like, your body's not the enemy. It's just, you have to understand why it's doing the things that you do. And I've studied holistic, integrative, complementary, and alternative, naturopathic, all of these different modalities. And why I landed at functional personally was to ask the question why. And so that's what I'm always really interested in, is like, why is my body doing this? Because I really trust my body. I think that it's doing things that are in my best interest. And if it's not, it's probably confused. So we need to figure out where that confusion is and then solve it together. And I think that the result of that is always positive.
Right. Symptoms should always be looked at as a message and not, I'm broken. It's like, no, your body's trying to compensate for something else, and it's causing you to have this symptom. So let's figure out why it's creating this symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Could be nutrient deficiencies, infections, trauma. I think that actually brings a good point, and we'll wrap up here, is if you're struggling with chronic illness, tracking your food will actually help you tremendously, because it's going to bring a sense of safety into your world through food, because you're tracking it and you're consistently getting, okay, I'm going to have 100 grams of protein today. I'm going to do that for a week. And it causes your body to feel safe. That's where healing happens, is when you feel safe. And I think that's something that really helped me in my healing journey, was just, I knew exactly what I was going to eat in the morning. I knew exactly what I was going to eat at night. And it brought all of the chaos. It kind of calmed all the chaos down, and it brought more structure into my life. And that's the whole point. You're overweight is probably because you have no structure. Sorry, just trying to be blunt. I don't like to sugarcoat things, no pun intended, but it's true. And I've experienced it firsthand. Like, I'm the first one to say, like, I have lost all structure in my life over the past few months, and I have put on weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
stress, man, that does it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, is there anything else you want to pinpoint or talk about?
No, I think that's like spot on. Is the more structure, safety, and consistency, that'll always lead to successful results. I guess like a caveat of that is life happens and we're all human. And so the intention of this is not to shame the lack of structure, but maybe just an opportunity to be reflective and say, hey, you know what? Maybe I do need some support in this. I think we could all benefit from more structure. And I love our friendship because, like Andrea said, we can hold each other accountable and say when we're struggling and say when we're stressful and be transparent about things and say, like, I need some support. You know, I'm training for this bodybuilding competition and I did not work out last week because I was so stressed. And I took a half day from work to honor my nervous system and put my legs up a wall. So life is messy. And even when you're in the industry, especially when you're in the industry, it can not look perfect. So do not feel any kind of guilt or shame for where you're at, but just kind of move forward positively. And I hope that these kind of solutions were helpful. In closing, I think maybe in another podcast, we can talk about the benefits of fasting, be that intermittent and then more long-term, because there's a lot of really interesting things to get into there.
You're so sweet. And I'm just like, put the fork down.
Usually it's like role reversal. I feel like last podcast, I was like bad cop. So like we're switching it up.
Okay. We're good. Salt and pepper over here.
I like it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll definitely chat soon.